All right, let's go to Judges chapter 3. Judges chapter... what are you doing? Keep stop talking. All right?
Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, because the fellowship made my day something special.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Amen. Amen. All right. Enough of that happy stuff. Let's get into Judges chapter 3.
Not happy stuff. She was here for the overview. It was not happy.
It's not a happy book.
I missed the first two chapters.
I think the worst thing about for us with Judges is that we're living in it. You're living in it right now. Judges is a book where people, they didn't want a leader. So there was no king in Israel because they didn't have a leader. So every man did what was right in his own eyes. That's what we're in today. Nobody has a leader. It's like chaos. And that's what happens. God wanted to give them a king, but their heart wasn't right. Amen? There's a lot of people, you got to understand something. There's a lot of people that think Judges was about, oh, well, we're going to take it this way, an autocracy or something like that, and God's going to keep commanding us as He's doing in Judges. That's what He really wanted. No, that's not what He wanted. He told them in Deuteronomy they were going to get a king. He just wanted them to wait for David. That's the problem. But guess who they got? They got Saul in the end. They got the king they wanted. Okay, that's you have to understand. They got the king they wanted. If you think it this way, do you want God to give you what you want? Because He will. He'll give it to you because He has done it. And you know what's happened every time? It's been a mess in your life. You always ask Him, not what you want, what He wants. Amen. Amen. So let's look in. We got through the first 2 chapters. And it was the setup, and now we're going to look at the apostasy of Israel. I'll show you how that is. Let's go over to Jude, to the book of Jude, that last general epistle of Jude. It's like an 11th hour letter. And in the 1641. Is that good? Some people have to say good. All right. In the book, in the letter of Jude, look down at verse 3. It says, Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you, and to exhort you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith, which was once, how many times? Once delivered unto the saints. If you're, like, the reason why I'm saying once is like this, it hasn't changed. If your book is changing, which all those modern Bibles are changing, they're the wrong book. God doesn't change. Your Bible should not be changed. It's not a progressive movement here, people. That's why God said, go back to the old paths. I mean, why would you carry a new King James anyway? Is there a new King James? I don't know. Is there a new one? What happened to the one that was there? And the one that they did it under, it wasn't King James. He couldn't have authorized it. It was a woman called Queen Elizabeth. See, what you didn't realize is King James Bible isn't a title. It's who published it. It was authorized by King James. Show me that the New King James was authorized by him. No, there's a copyright on it. It's the words of men. They can make money on it. That's what they do. They make money off of Bibles today. You know, it's a sick thing. If you want to prove it, go on I'll show you something here to prove. Take a modern version, take it out of like Bible Gateway, highlight it with all where it is, and then put it out there and with your name on it, and let's see if somebody doesn't contact you. Because they make money if you do it. You can do that to the King James. You could copy the whole King James Bible. You could put it in your Facebook. I don't know if it would go there, but you could put it in, and it could go all, post it, and you know what? Nothing. Because the Bible, God put His Bible, and it's His words, that anybody and everybody should get it. And you don't have to pay for it. Just go to a local Bible-believing church. If they don't give you a Bible, a guy needs to leave the pulpit. If somebody came in here looking for a Bible and I didn't have one, or I didn't have an extra, or I didn't have a paperback, or I didn't have this, somewhere along the line I'm going through the church and he's leaving there with a Bible. But God would provide one anyway. Amen? So we'll be looking at the apostasy, which is a departing of the faith. Verse number 1 will start. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war at the least, such as before knew nothing thereof, namely 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites, that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which He commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. Father, thank you for this word, Lord God. Let it get to our hearts. You speak to the people. Lord Father, let you be in charge of this. Thank you for all you do. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. So it says in the very, which the Lord He left. Why would He left? Well, it must be to try him. Look, if you leave something behind, don't be thinking it's not going to come up and bite you. Right? Am I right? Everything in your life you left behind. You should have closed the ends. What happened? It came back to you. It always comes back. Look, you sin and you walk away. Did you ever notice that when you're getting back with God, He's like, look, you got to get back here. You got a starting point. Why? Well, that's where your power went. The axe head, it fell off. Where did it fall? Well, let's go back to the spot where it fell. You go to a Y in the road. You take the wrong way. You go to the left, of course. You went the wrong way. You keep going. God's to the right. What happens? You keep getting separated and separated and separated. Sooner or later, you can't even hear His voice anymore. What does He want you to do? Go back. You got to go back where you made that decision, and then you veer to the right. Amen? Amen. He leaves them there. What to do? To prove Israel. To try you these things. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. I have to talk a little loud because of the air conditioners. Actually, I just like to yell. You guys are just in the way. Man, Laura's here. I'm going to make sure I yell at her at least 4 times for her husband's sake.
Which verse is it?
I didn't tell you a verse yet. You just sit there. I got people that actually ask me, who's that lady that keeps making up in the church? Then they meet her, they're like, okay, we got it.
Oh, they love her.
I was a celebrity.
All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Let's start 17. It says, now in this that I declare unto you, I praise you not, that ye come together, not for the better, but for the worse. For first of all, when we come together in the church, I hear that there be divisions among you, and I partly believe it. For there must be also what? Heresies among you. This is what apostasy is about. There's heresies that start in. They come among you. Heresies among you, that they which are approved may be made manifest among you. But there must be. What's that? That when people go into apostasy, when people don't want to listen, when people come into church and it's messed up, guess what? There's heresies among you. That's part of the apostasy. What happens if heresies come in? What's some of them that have come in? Okay, we were going over it today. I'll give you some of them. For some reason now, if you get baptized in water, that's when you get the Holy Ghost. Well, that's what they're teaching just down the block here. In this town, they're teaching that. Just go down the block, they'll teach you that stuff. Charismatics, touch your heads and all that other stuff. Water can't do anything to you, can't make anything out of you. Even the Baptists, I'm talking about Bible believers, believe that being baptized in water puts you in the bride of Christ. They call it the Baptist bride or Baptist briders. Okay? If you don't think it's true, Hyles-Anderson, the largest Bible college, Baptist Bible college in the country, teaches that. So what do you think you're going to get as they're pushing out preachers and pushing out preachers? Guess what you're going to get? All that. They're not the only ones, people. The big colleges, California, they're teaching the same thing. They're teaching the same thing all down south. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Amen? We're near the end. Verse number, let's go back in. Verse number 2, he says, only the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war. You know what war teaches? You know why it's the best? Not just to protect. You know one thing war teaches? It teaches discipline. If you want to see, look, I was undisciplined. I went in the army. I think I'm ultra disciplined. People think I am now. To that point, he's the same way. Larry's the same way. We put things in account, and we it has to be that way. I can say it this way: move something that we see orderly, just move it away. We'll be back at that spot. Stick. Where's that piece right there? Get that back over here. Put it right there. Why? I need it right there. I don't know why. I just need it there. Let me see something. If I see something on the ground, you got to move it. Okay? If it doesn't move, paint it. Amen? Larry, you should know that one. You were on a ship. Paint everything. Amen. But if you're going to go into war, you know what you need? You need soldiers. You got to have soldiers. There's a need for soldiers. Verse number 3, namely that, now he's talking about who was there, who was left. Namely the 5 lords of who? The Philistines. Now I ain't got time to show all this, but you'll notice one thing about some of the enemies. Some of the enemies, it's about land. It's about, let's go conquer their land. We need their land, their land, their land. Then you got other enemies, there's no land. You know what they are? They're spiritual enemies. They don't namely talk about the land, or it was Israel's land, they're just invaders. The Philistines are a look at a spiritual enemy of Israel. Just like the Midianites. There's always a spiritual enemy. Look, you think your physical enemies are the ones you need to worry about? It's your spiritual enemies. The spirit world is much more real than your physical world. Your physical world is what, 7 years? Altogether, maybe 70, 80 years if you're lucky, or something like that, or you took care of yourself well, but your eternity life, there's no time to it. There's no time. So what life do you think you should live in? You should live in the spirit world more. What's that? Get more spiritual. Get more spiritual. He says there were 5 lords of these Philistines, and all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, the Hivites, they dwelt in Mount Lebanon in the north, and Mount Baal Hermon, the Lord of Hermon, unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel how? By them, namely those 5, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So the Lord's looking at this. He says, look, you left them there. It's not like I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use what's there. You don't think God will just pull his hands back? Go ahead. Go at it. Hey, look, you have to get tried in your life. You have to realize that. Everybody has to get tried. Why? God's looking at perfecting you. If you're not getting tried, you're not being perfected. The problem isn't getting tried. The problem is we don't like it. You're being tried right now, and you don't like it. Last year they tried you again. Let's keep you away from church. Let's close the churches. You know, I think God was actually looking at the pastors. You going to close? Are you going to close? I saw it. Now, guess what? I think it's going to be a bad time next year. Why? They're hiring 87,000 IRS agents. Everybody think, oh, you know, what do you think they're going after? Well, they're going to go after the people. No, they're not. That's secondary. You know what they care about? They care about what you're doing in here. And this doesn't do anything. They're gonna go after us. Think about that. Last time, I gotta say it, last time we failed. The church failed last time. This time, what do we do? You know? We only got a short time. We only got a short time. It's time to stand up for a little bit for the Lord, man. We gotta start standing. The Bible says doing all that you can to stand. The problem isn't that. The problem is it's not about getting physical and being mean and everything. Look, they take away one thing, you go for another thing. Look, if they turn around and say we can't meet here, we'll meet somewhere else. Okay? That's how it works. Oh, well, you can't. Look, we needed to take opportunity. When all the hirelings ran away from the churches, what do? You go in, you preach at those churches, and you get people saved. You teach them right doctrine, you teach them right things. You know, maybe we need to be circuit preachers from now on. Maybe we need to get out there. Amen. So, verse number 5 says, and the children of Israel dwelt in the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be wives and gave their daughters to their sons and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and forgot the Lord their God and served Balaam and the groves. Now, if you can put scripture together and you keep reading it, verse 6, see where it says the last part, served their gods? Verse 7 tells you the name of their gods right at the end, doesn't it? Balaam is one of them. They had their groves. Now, go back to chapter 2 and look at verse 13. Who's their gods? Baal, and Ashtaroth. They had the woman with the baby, and they had Baal. Okay? Now, you go over here and it says Baalim. Does everybody know what Baalim is? If Baal is the singular, when you put I am, it's plural. Cherub, cherubim. Okay? Baal, Baalim. There's other gods, many other gods, okay? The host of heaven, all those things. You know the old saying, you lost your car keys and you gotta go to Saint whatever, I don't know their names, Martin, Anthony, whatever, Groucho Marx or whoever it is. Amen. So that's who they go to. Now I noticed something in verse number 5 caught me. In verse number 5, it gives you 6 names. Look at it. The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 7. Now, in 7, look at that verse in Judges 3:5. There's 6 of them. Look over at Judges 7:1. There's 7 nations. Look at the very end. 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. You got one that's missing. You know who it is? Can anybody see it? The Girgashites. The Girgashites. Okay, does anybody know why the Girgashites aren't in there?
They joined with
Canaanites?
no, Hebrews. They joined with
Okay.
the mount there.
Okay.
They didn't want to go to war, so they joined.
That's right.
They made
Amen.
a deal.
They made a deal. Amen. There you go. See, he's remembering what he's learned. Okay? But look at verse 6. It says, and they took their daughters to be wives and gave their daughters to their sons. And they did the usual. They served other gods. And the other gods were Balaam and Balaam and Baal and Ashtaroth, and they started putting up groves and everything else. Look, if you're going to serve the others' gods, you know what you're going to do? You're going to start acting like them. We do it today. We do it today. The Roman Catholics are all over there. We're doing the same thing as them. You say we're not? Yes, we are. We got pieces of wood. Come on down. Get down on your knees right in front of this piece of wood. Oh, by the way, I'll stand up here while you bow down. See the difference? Something's going on there. Oh, I know. We've been doing it for years, and it's all tradition. Look, you're teaching for a doctrine, the commandments of men. I don't care what anybody says. That's idolatry after a while. Okay? 20-minute, 30-minute altar calls, and in 2 hours, I've seen them. That becomes sensual, and that is idolatry. We're going down because of idolatry. Look at Isaiah. Look at Jeremiah. Why did they go down? Why did the remnant go down? Idolatry. We're the last of the remnant, are we not? We're acting no different than they are today. We're adding stuff into the churches, bringing stuff in. How many people have been told to have a family altar at their house? They're telling them that. I've seen it. I'm going to the meetings. They go, oh, we have a family altar. You got the wrong thing, my friend. An altar is a place for sacrifice. We had a sacrifice. It's Jesus Christ. He sat down at the right hand of God. Right? He only did it once. You do not have a place for offering an altar. Here I come with my money. They need to get rid of the altars. They need to get rid of them. Oh, don't worry, people. It's been around for a long time. And guess what? I see them all fighting about it and everything else. I brought it up. Stop it. Knock it off. Oh, see, the evangelists can't make their money without one. You know, hey, look, you got to do it like this, people. You got to get everybody up, tell them they're rotten people, tell them about their puppy dogs and their moms and their dads, and get them all sad, get them to the altar, and then do the one thing they should all do, take the selfie. Altar's full. It would be funny, wouldn't it?
I was just saying, it's almost like you watched my sermon.
What, did you just preach this?
Yes.
Amen. Good stuff. So, verse number 6, he said they served other gods. Go to Numbers chapter 25. When you start getting through the whole Bible, you start studying through it, once you get to all the prophets and everything, what you're going to find is idolatry is the biggest problem in the Bible.
Take Numbers 25.
Yes. What's so funny about that? Numbers 25. Let's look at verse number 1. He says, And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they, the daughters of Moab, called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. You know what the people did? They did eat and bow down to their gods. You realize that they're going through the desert, they're in hardships. Moses has been knocking this stuff down. They just got commandments, they see miracles, and what is the next thing they do? Bow right down. You can get worked up into this stuff. Man, I got to go back to just preaching the Gospels, and that's it, man. Amen. All right, so we're going to start in verse number 8. Therefore, the anger of the Lord was hot. I love when it says hot against Israel. And he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan-Rishathaim 8 years. Now, Mesopotamia is between two rivers, the midst, in between two rivers. And here they are, they got Cushan-Rishathaim. Now, does anybody understand Cushan, the word Cushan? Cush, it means dark, it means black. Okay? Now, like it or not, in the Bible, When God talks about darkness, is that the good side or the evil side? Evil side. You're right. It's evil side. Now, God doesn't turn it down. This is the bad part. Here's where man gets involved. Man gets involved right away. It's talking about stupid. God don't care about that. That's now how you can live on the continents. Okay? God separated. He puts you in a place that you're going to have to adapt to that place. There's a climate there. And God does that for man. That's a mercy. But don't try and take God and say he's turned around, he's racist. Okay, so what? What does it matter? Does it really care? Are you saved or are you lost? Do you know him? Do you really know the guy? Because if you're calling him that, you don't know him. You haven't read your book. Amen. Yes, he did. He preferred the Jews. Amen. But this is between the Tigris and the Euphrates right here, is where they're talking. He sold them. He sold them right into their hands. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel and went out to war. And the Lord delivered Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand. And his hand prevailed against Cushan-Rishathaim, and the land had rest 40 years, and Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. Okay, what are they crying for? Look at verse number 9. He says, and when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. Here, what are you going to do? You going to cry to your idols? Did you ever notice that? Look, they've been crying to this. They've been crying to these idols, and now all of a sudden they cry to the Lord. Once it's gotten wrong, once it's gotten bad, what happened to the idols? Hey, why don't you go to them? You know, I mean, did you ever read some of this stuff about idols? It says what? He goes, it takes a lot of work to be an idolater. I mean, think about it. You got to get a piece of wood, take it, carve it all out, and everything else, and then you got to pick it up. You got to paint it and make detail. And if you want it to go anywhere, it can't move itself, right? It's not it's a God that can't move. So you got to put it in your pickup truck or carry it around and take it somewhere and put it down. And then you're going to bow down to it. Yeah, surely that is your master. Amen? What's an idol? It's whatever comes between you and God. Amen? That's your idol. It could be television. It could be something that you love. It's something that you would, anything you can put between you and God is going to be your idol. And that's what they're doing. They cry. Why do you cry to your idols? You know, it's something. I've been all around the world. I stood with guys in Iraq, these Iraqis that they said they were Muslims. I never once, I got to tell you, I was around them a lot, and I never once heard them use their Allah in his name in vain. I never heard them say Allah damn or Muhammad this or something like that, or Satan damn even, these people that, they always use the name of Jesus Christ. Well, why not? Because Psalm 139 said what? They're going to swear in my name. They all swear in his name. Oh, they don't know him? You don't better believe they know him. I was watching them Iraqis out there. You know what? That's what they were doing. Guy would do something, it would mess up, and he'd turn around and say, Jesus Christ, let go. What? You're not supposed to. No, he's not supposed to be real. Well, he is real. He's just a man. But you understand? Why would they do it? Because he's the real God. There comes a point, look, even these people out here, they've been bowing down to their idols for all this time, thinking they got some good luck charm with their tic-tac-toes and all that other stuff, jiggle, 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 their little tikis and, little crossies with the guy on them and all that other stuff. They think they got something with it. But guess what? When it gets real important, real terrible, they call him Corion. What? Well, what's the matter with your God? They don't go to the people that go to their church to pray. You know where they go? They leave. They go over to somebody else. Why? They know you talk to God. That's the difference. They know you know God. That's the difference. Verse number 10, and the Spirit of the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel and went out to war. Galatians chapter 6. came upon him. You know, the Lord says actually in John chapter 14, I think it's verse number 17, God says that as far as the Comforter, He will dwell in you and with you. In you, there's two different scenarios. In you and with you. Okay? At Pentecost, when the Holy Ghost came down, He came upon them. That's what it says. He came upon them. After that, the Holy Ghost has come upon you. Galatians. Galatians chapter 6. Look at, let's just look at verse number 1. It says, brethren, if, now watch, this being taken, I don't even understand why I put this in. Now I'm starting to look at it. It's talking about a fault, but it says, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Okay, when he's looking at the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, people went to the other side. What is God looking for? He's looking for restoration. That's why I put that there. God's looking for restoration. Hey, are you looking for restoring people, or are you looking for just setting them aside? I'll give you a for instance. Look, when you catch a brother in a fault, or if some fault has happened, do you want the brother to know that you were right, or would you rather have him reconciled to you? Reconciled. We are in a ministry of reconciliation, not a ministry of we're right. Okay? Yes, you take your Bible with you. You can show him where he's wrong, but you got to understand something. We're not here to win arguments. We're here to win people. Okay? Now we ain't going to let them back in. We ain't going to let them back in fully and restore them back up unless they're going to realize what happened. A fault has been made. You know, you have to count the costs. People don't realize that. You got to count the cost. You know, there's people that have made church splits in churches. And then the next thing you know, they think it's okay. If that's the case, let me tell you something. We need to count the costs here. You know what you could have done after 3 or 4 years? What could have happened? I mean, think about the people out there that you turned around and you made that church get a bad reputation. How many people missed coming in? How many people didn't get saved because of that person's big mouth? And that person, let me tell you something, the only reason that church will split is because of pride. You want to restore such as one, but you got to count the costs of this thing. You got to count the cost, because what you're going to find is if there's no counting of the cost, you got cowboys. You got Lone Ranger Christians. What's that? They think they can do anything they want. The liberty is the liberty to do truth, not the liberty to do what you want. And that's what we're dealing with in the church house today, as far as, even the elites. What's that? They think they have the liberty to do anything they want to do. Do you know, I can tell you, I had a guy who had a church split, and you know what happened? I talked to the other guy. He said it was like an act of God. Oh yeah, God goes around kicking around his bride, beating in the head and everything else. Let's split the church, and it's God wanted that. No. God never wants that. God never wants that. Never take that from anybody. You just stand up and you say to him, no, God didn't want that, you're a liar. Go back and make it right. There's the best thing you can say to them people. Get up and, tell them. You need to get it right. You need to get right with this thing. You'll get it right here, you'll get it right up there. What you bind on earth, it's bound in heaven, just say no. It's bound right there. So if whatever's here, me and Corey have a problem, look, the judgment seat of Christ isn't let's go beat somebody up. You're not even getting to it. It's an awards ceremony. But you're not going to get to it until it's all done. Corey, we got a problem. We're going to have to get this right. Why? Because whatever we bound here, it's going to be bound there when we get up there. You're better off getting it down now. That's what he's talking about in Matthew 18 when he says, you tell your brother who's, you go to him, takes that, tell it to people, tell it to the church. Don't go around gossiping. we're looking at winning people, getting people in line, reconciliation between two people. Why? Because if the two people are reconciled in the midst of Jesus Christ, we can talk about him again. That's what he's talking about in that. He's not trying to set up a church and say, where two or more are gathered together in my name. He's trying to say, look, we understand that is a portion, but that's the small portion of it. You know what the portion of that is? I want reconciliation between my kids. I don't want to fight. It's in your own flower. You like when your kids are fighting, they're beating each other. You know, you're like, knock it off. That's how God is too. And he's dealing with a whole bunch of fifth graders here that are very immature. All right, go down to verse number 12. He says, and the children of Israel, they did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, his name means chariot, the king of Moab against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. 18 years. You notice how they're always having a problem with this group called Amalek? They find the wells, and what happens? Here comes Amalek. Amalek keeps coming back. He's like a spiritual enemy. And just so you know, you need, when God told him to get rid of Amalek, didn't he? Get rid of them all, Saul. And guess what? He didn't do it, did he? And guess who shows up to give David his crown? I'm an Amalekite, he says. And you know what David does? David gets the crown and everything, takes that guy aside. You know what he does to him? He takes care of it. You say, well, the guy gave him the crown. Why would he do that? Well, God's commandment goes further. What's that? Get rid of him. And then think about this, people. Remember a guy by the name of Saul? Okay, he was supposed to go in and kill all the Amalekites. He doesn't. He leaves one. Who was the one? Agag, the king. Okay? Now, what did they do to the king? They made sport of him. Kick him through the streets, drag him through the streets, everything like that. They took their king and they kicked him through the streets. And he left them alive. Samuel comes in, what does he do? He kills them. But somewhere along the line, by leaving them alive, a guy shows up in the book of Esther, and his name is Hamath. And he is a what? An Agagite. You know what's happening? You take care of her, it's going to keep coming back to you. Isn't that something? Oh, just so you know, they kicked Agag through the streets, and guess what happened from there? About 3,000 years later, Israel's king is standing before Pontius Pilate, and he gets done, and you know what they do to him? They kick him through the streets too. Simon of Cyrene is carrying his cross ahead of him, and guess what's happening? He's behind him. Jesus Christ is in front there. The soldiers are doing, boom! They're kicking Jesus Christ through the streets. Why? Well, that's what they do with disposed kings. Isn't that something? Amen. All right, let's keep going. It says in verse number 15, but when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer. Isn't that a pattern? What's that? Let me see. Sin goes to punishment, to repentance, to deliverance. That's going to be the pattern. Sin, repentance, deliverance. But when the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer. Ehud, the son of Gera, Benjamite, son of my right hand, but guess what? He's a left-hander. He's a left-hander. That's a trait in Benjamin, just so you know. They're slingers of stones. And by him, the children of Israel sent a present, that's like a tribute, a present, unto the Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger, which had 2 edges, and a cubic length. Anybody know where that sword comes from? A cubic in length? Later on, what's that? 18 inch. Who had one of them? Rome. And you'll notice the sword, it's a double-edged sword. What's that? Well, we have our sword, and we have a double-edged sword, right? Don't think the enemy doesn't have one. Theirs is just different than ours. Amen? Whole bunch of preachers got a whole bunch of swords down there. They're just wet noodles, though. But you know something? They're using them more powerfully than we are. We got a whole bunch of people who have King James Bible, don't even believe it. They're going everywhere else but it. I mean, imagine getting your sermon together. You got to have 6 books in your hand to do a sermon. You got to put them down, and you got to know all these other languages and everything else, thinking you're smart, and God's sitting there going, "Just read the one book, man." You can't even get the one book yet. You got 6 others to try and work with. He brings him a present. He has a sword with him. Now watch, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh, and he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bear the present. But he himself turned again from quarries that were by Gilgal and said, "I have a secret errand unto thee, O king." Who said, "Keep silence." And all that stood by him went out from him. Hey, I got something here, but you know what? We gotta get everybody. I want to tell you something. Get all these people out here. You know. So what he does is he sends away his secret service. That's what he did. He sent away his protection. Kings have protection and everything. He sends them away. He said, let me have this room. And all that stood by him, they went away. They left him alone. So now he's got no secret service with him. And Ehud comes up to him. He was sitting in the summer parlor, and he had for himself he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, "I have a message from God unto thee." And he arose out of his seat. "You got a message from God? Oh, wow." And Ehud put forth his left hand, and he took the dagger from his right thigh and thrust it into his belly. Okay? Now, you don't think they did a security check here? You think somebody's just going to walk into a king's place and nobody checks? But you know why they didn't catch him? Because most people are right-handed. He's left-handed, he puts the sword here. If you're right-handed, where's the sword? It's right here. So they're looking for this side, and they saw, well, he ain't got nothing there. Not looking for the left-handed. How many people in here are left-handed? Sharon, good for you. Jesus Christ was left-handed. Amen. I don't care if anybody likes that or not. It's the way it is. Actually, it's like this. This is the way you look at it. David was a slinger of stones, right? And he was a good thrower. Who were the good throwers in the Bible? The left-handers. Jesus Christ is a type of David. David is a type of Christ. So Christ was left-handed. Amen. We'll go on from there. Amen. Hey, if you can't have fun, what's wrong with you? Okay. So, verse 22. And the haft also went in after the blade. Watch. And the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. Okay. I've heard this preached many times. They say that he put the sword through him, it hit the ground, and he had his hand stuck in there because the sword was stuck in. Okay, when it's talking about the dirt coming out in the Bible, anybody here has ever had a dog that died? What happens just before they go down? The bowels blow out, and they empty. That's what he's talking about. The dirt came out. He died. Okay? It's that easy, people. Don't make a big thing about it. Guys like to bring that up like they're really smart. It's nothing. Just a person passing away, and God says, hey, look, that's what happened. Okay? Just so you know, I called up Caesar and asked him. When I see a medical term, I call up Mike Caesar and I go, wait, what does this mean? And I've been reading it for years, and this is what he said to me. I said the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out, and he said he pooped. I said, okay. Amen. Verse number 23. Then Ehud went forth through the porch and shut the doors of the parlor upon him and locked them. And when he was gone out, his servants came. They're going to be curious. His servant, they work for him. They're his people. And when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, surely he covered his feet in his summer chamber. They think he's taking a nap. Well, you've got to understand something. Maybe he drank too much. That happens. You've got to understand, leaders today, if we see all our leaders, they're a bunch of drunks. They can't even have a meeting without having booze at it. If you go to any of these guys are the same guys who are going to be making decisions. Do you know what booze does to your decisions? It doesn't do anything good. Okay, here's how it works. The guy comes into your house, and you got a big party going on. He gives the keys. He says, hey, you take my keys. I don't want to be driving after this. Next thing you know, after about 6 beers, he's coming up to you and saying what? Hey, man, give me them keys. I need them. I'll be okay. And then he takes his projectile and drives it down the road. Saying, I drive better when I'm drunk. I've heard that one too. How many times you hear that one? Soldiers love that one. Oh, I can drive better when I'm drunk. And then they're one of the 18 faces on Monday on the blotter report, where they take their picture and they got that good drunk look on them. In Fort Drum, they're from Triple Deuce. Amen. But they thought maybe he drank too much and he's taking a nap. And they tarried till they were ashamed. And behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them, and behold, their Lord was fallen down dead upon the earth. I guess they had to go in. They had to make sure he was okay. They left him. They walked away. These are guys who are supposed to make sure that he's alive. They moved out. They were ashamed. Why? They should have been in there. They should have been in. The president, if the president asks people to leave, he can ask everybody to leave, but he can't ask the Secret Service to leave. He can't ask the Secret Service to leave. Because they're there and their mission is to protect the president, not to take the order from the president on that. The only time the Secret Service walks away is when they go into a military environment and the military PSD takes over. We have our own personal security. And I guarantee you, we had Dan Quayle one day over in Germany, and I like Dan Quayle. He's a good guy. I met him. He was a really good guy to talk to. Very smart, intelligent man. But anyway, just so you know, he's also a Christian. He was saved. But when Dan Quayle came in, they gave it over to us in our personal security division, and he was with us, and we would take care of him. But you know what? They were still there. They were still there. They don't even trust us, and they should. Verse 26, and Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped unto Seraph. That's up near Gilgal. Anybody know where Gilgal was? Remember I told you guys? It keeps coming up, it keeps coming up. The reason why Gilgal is important is because Gilgal is where their weapons are. When they first came over the floods, and they came past the Jordan, what's the first place they go to? Gilgal. Okay? All the battles are fought from Gilgal. They always come back, and guess where they come back to? Gilgal. Then guess who comes up? Later on, they get their first king. His name is Saul, right? Saul is out there with the army of the Philistines. Where's he at? He's near Gilgal. The Philistines are coming. Why does Saul right away grab and do the sacrifice he wasn't supposed to do, and he tries to usurp the priest office? Because he knows the importance of Gilgal. It's where their weapons are. You got to understand where an armory is where your stuff is. Amen? Amen. All right, verse 27. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew the trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. And the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, Follow after me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him. And he took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. The best thing you can do is cut off the retreat. Amen? Cut off the retreat. Yeah, okay. It's no different than this. Here's an enemy. You got an enemy, right? And you want to fight the enemy. You can either come like that at your enemy, okay? Or you can come like this at the enemy with half of your people and take part of it and come around here. And what you're going to do is envelop them. Okay? Now, which scenario is better is always going to be this one right here. Cut the retreat off. Now, you win. You have them closed in and you win. That's what Israel did in Jericho. That's what Israel did in Ai. Get behind the enemy. Get behind them. They can't retreat. That's how you work. Just so you know, people think that God pursues his enemies until he's finished. You say, what about the devil? He's been doing all this. He's pursuing them. He's pursuing them his way. Okay? If God was to get rid of them altogether, there's a possibility maybe a lot of people wouldn't even get saved. You got to understand, some people, the millennium, you're going to have 1,000 years of people being born in the millennium, born and born and born. They're going to live to 1,000 years old. And you're going to have probably the most amount of unsaved people that ever was on the face of the earth. Because as they go on, they're still man. You got to understand, they're still sinners. You know what's going to happen? They're going to fall. They're fallen creatures. They're going to go away. Even with all that, they're still going to walk away from Christ. Why? Because you're talking about 25,000 miles around this earth. And as people are born in Jerusalem and move out, they're going to move away. Sooner or later, Jesus is just going to be a legend to somebody who's on the other side of the earth. They're not going to know him anymore. Don't you see it today? You got a book, and there's how many people we got? We have been designed. Look how many people say, when you want an agreement, put it in what? Okay, God did. What's wrong with you? It's in writing. What's wrong with you? It's right here. Well, you gotta understand something. You gotta get somebody to read it. Then you gotta tell them about it. Then, and then they have their choice whether they want to get into the contract or not. You see? You have to understand, some people, it's all free will. There's a lot of people going around. They think they know. Oh, it's going to be works in the millennium. You're a fool. There is not going to be any TV. There's not going to be any of this luxury stuff. You're going in the millennium, you're back to horses and everything else. Start living like the Amish. You'll be okay. Technology is a god to the people. And God's taken away all of them. You have a God, he's taken away. What do you think he's going to have? 120 billion kids sitting around with their little idols? Because that's what we got today. You think he's going to let that stupidness go on and go on and go on during his world? Chuck them phones away. He ain't going to have them. You see, the thing you got to understand, people, is communion with God is same. C-O-M-M. What's that? Communication with him. Communion is about communication. Even command is about communication. You know what God wants with you? Communication. He wants communion with you. he's not gonna let that, he's not gonna let something get in between him. You see? All right. Verse 29. And they slew Moab at that time. About 10,000 men. All lusty and all men of valor. And there escaped not a man. Now, I laugh at this. I'll tell you why. As soon as I read that verse, I wrote next to it, this is a while ago, lost soldiers. You know why I wrote that? This is the exact thing that's lost, the soldiers that are lost on. They're just a bunch of lusty men. They hang around soldiers. They're all lusty men. Look, going in. Oh yeah, as an officer, I could walk in and I go, hey, where's the, I'm not doing this. My wife said she's going to kill me, but still I say, yo, every one of them soldiers, they all know where the red light district is for some reason.
Oh.
And just say, they all do. They all know where that is. And you know, it's no coincidence that any spies that go into an area, where do they always go? You go to the prostitutes. You look back at the letters of George Washington, you know who he had? Prostitutes. George Washington used prostitutes as spies. He caught generals, everything with it. He was probably the best general we've ever had at using spies. And it's not in any of our history books. It's only in like military books that you actually can get. But George Washington, he was smart when it came to spies. He caught generals. He knew their girlfriends and everything down the line, who they were with. George Washington, you think the Americans were just a ragtag, a bunch of idiots? No, man, they were pretty smart. They were pretty smart. You don't even realize all those guys are just a young bunch of guys. They were all like 20s to 30s. They weren't old men. Stop looking at those pictures. Those pictures are years afterwards. I mean, you realize that the guy that started our money system in this country, he was John Hamilton. The guy was like, what, 22 years old? 25 maybe? The guy was really young. He was also lieutenant colonel. These are lost soldiers. They're men of valor. They're lusty men. Guess what? They're usually, I can tell you this, we use those guys. What? They were usually good with the vehicles. They were good with the equipment. They were smart men. You know what else? They're good fighters. But they're lost. They're lost guys. Think about if you could get them saved and they weren't afraid to die, what kind of soldier you could actually get out of that. Amen? So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel. And the land had rest 80 years. You notice that they're oppressed maybe 5, 6 years, 8 years, but guess what? When they get delivered for a good amount of time. Look, it says 80 years. That's 80 years, people. Up before that, you got 40 years. 40 years, 80 years. Okay? 40 years, 80 years. Isn't that something? Verse number 31. And after him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. Okay, you had Ehud was in the north. Now this guy Shamgar, he's in the south. Now I want you to understand the way God's calling men is calling them out of tribes. Okay, you remember Othniel is from Judah. He calls a guy from Judah. He calls a Benjamite out from Benjamin. Now he's got another guy. What's happening is, if you read this book, you're seeing that, okay, there's a problem in Benjamin right now. And they're having a problem. But at the same time, they're having a problem down south in another area, near the Philistines. And it's happened at the same time. How do you know? Look at that last verse. After him, Shamgar, the son of Anath, which was of the Philistines. He's in the south. What's happening? There's fights going on back and forth in other areas of this thing that are going on. Okay? The other thing you're going to notice, look what it says in 31. It says, and after him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, who slew the Philistines, 600 men. Watch what it says, with a what? An ox goad, a farm equipment. Okay? He used farm equipment to do this. Now, why would he use farm equipment? They didn't have weapons. They were look. Go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, I think it's 13. First Samuel 13. And here's what they're going to find. They just get 13. Saul was reigned 1 year. Look at verse number 1. They have a new king. He's in his newlywed phase, basically. He's been 1 year in the job. Really doesn't even know what he's doing after 1 year. But look over at verse 19 and see what he found. He says, and now there was no what? Now what kind of smith is that? And what do they make? They make weapons. They make things for armaments. There was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. Why is that? Verse 19 still. For the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. So what do you think they're doing? They're killing all the smiths. Every time they come up, they get rid of the smiths, the blacksmiths. So why is he using an ox goad? They didn't have any weapons. They didn't have enough weapons, so they're just picking up weapons. That's what's going to be a trend throughout the whole time of Judges. They're not very armed because the smiths are being killed. Hey, look, you want to beat a country. There's a few things you've got to take away from them. You've got to take away their food. You can starve them. You take away their weapons and they can't fight. You know what? Take away their God, they can't think. Hey people, that's what's happening to you. They're taking away your weapons. They're taking away your food. They're buying up all the foreign land. They're telling you what you can eat, what you can't eat. They're controlling it down at all the stores and everything else. And now they're taking away they're going to take away your faith if they can. Well, they can't take it away, but they think by taking away a building they're going to be able to do it. You're in a war and you didn't even realize it. You're in a war with your own government. You don't even realize it. You know what that tells you? Don't do what they say. Unless they come up, I told you, unless they come up to your driveway, pay your taxes. I know you're going to fill them out and all that stuff. Unless they come up to your driveway and pull you out of your house and make you do something, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. Yes, I'll go see them. No problem. What are they going to do to me? Put me in jail? Prison ministry? Oh, maybe they'll kill me. Oh, good. I'll go to heaven. Hey, man, I mean, they want to give me some? Okay, hey, look, shoot me with something now. Hey, okay, fine, whatever. Doesn't matter now. I'm done with all this stuff. No big deal. What are they going to do? Give me COVID? Yeah. They showed that one. Yeah. No, that's only for donkeys or whatever, donkey pox. That's for the other weirdos. You know, right now they're finding out that just so you know, none of you people are likely to get it. You know why? You're not of the right persuasion, my friends. Only certain people are getting that. Okay? It's called the sodomites. You don't have a problem with that then. Amen? It's like AIDS, people. They turn around right away. They're getting AIDS, and we're the problem. Oh, yeah, you guys are giving up. Everybody's going to get it. Everybody's going to... Yeah, come on. We know who's getting it. We're not a bunch of fools. But you'll watch. You're going to see a whole bunch of people. They'll have a vaccine. They'll be like people standing at the door. You know? My buddy's a doctor. He's got 5,000 patients down in Philadelphia. He told me the day, every time they offer a new... They're all out there. He's like telling them, don't take it. He's a doctor. He's saying, no, you don't want that.
I have a friend that calls me and tells me, you don't have any people believe it.
Hurry up.
Yeah, right.
All right. So we understand what's going on with the book a little? Okay. All right. So let's pray right there. Lord Father, we thank you. We love you. Thank you for teaching us tonight, Lord God. Thanks getting into our hearts, Lord Father. Thank you, Lord God, that you open up this book to us, Lord God, and talk to our hearts. We've got a great book here, Lord Father. We got a book that we can depend on. We got a book that we can love. We got some words here, Lord Father, that tell the truth to us in our hearts, Lord Father. It's not where it came from you. You gave us the book, Lord Father. It's your book. Thank you for it. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, get out. Hey, Maggie's on.